looking for the robot from Space Camp. He is on walkabout on his journeys. But I am Chad, man.
I'm Mike.
Chuck.
We are your video store clerks this evening. See you in a second after our little promos.
Warning. The following podcast contains mature language and adult discussions. You have been warned.
Welcome to the store.
It's another Wednesday evening. We are now on at 10 p.m. New time. It's crazy shit. There's a lot of stuff going on here at the store. Let's see. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Bill Murray hit Groundhog's Day. But first, we have the news. Bing again.
Bing!
Hey now.
Well, this week we had some interesting things pop up. They're finally, as Mike just saw a minute ago, they're finally filming Five Nights at Freddy's, which is basically Willy's Wonderland, but probably not as good because our friends Blumhouse are doing it.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens there. Another sequel that got announced today was Pooh, Blood, and Honey. So I can't wait to see the first one. So we'll see if the second one has any hope.
See, I don't get that though, because didn't that one just come out or hasn't come out
It's
yet?
not even out yet.
And they've already announced a sequel.
Yeah,
That they're rushing it a little bit. I mean, I'm excited to see it. Don't get
Me
me wrong,
too.
but I don't know. It's just kind of. I want to wait and see how the first one does for you, or to go ahead.
you
and
would
just announce
you would
that.
think so.
Yeah, but
You would think so. They also said that the Batman is getting the sequel finally, and they came
should watch
out.
the first one.
Yeah, you should. That's okay, but I mean, you know what I mean. It is what it is.
All right.
But yeah, they came up with the sequel title. You ready for this one? The Batman Part 2.
Interesting.
Classic.
So they didn't.
Classic.
Yeah, they just went right ahead there and took it. They're like, fuck it. There's gonna be no creativeness behind this. We're just gonna go with old school shit and go Part 2.
Yeah.
I mean,
Also-
if it's gonna be that fucking dumb, just go with The Batman Returns.
Right.
How
Right,
dumb do you want to
right.
get?
Right.
And this was gonna be 4 hours long.
Oh, perfect. I have nothing else to do.
That would be
That's
terrible.
probably one of the reasons why I haven't watched the Batman yet. 3
It's
hours
long,
long.
man.
There's a
It's
reason why
long.
I don't give a fuck about Lord of the Rings. A lot
It's
of
long
reasons,
and
but
it feels even longer.
I don't have that kind of
She
attention span unless I really give a fuck.
Yeah, I watched it twice, but I think I fell asleep the first time I watched it.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch it one of these days, but I
Let me
don't
get-
know.
Well, yeah, don't worry about the Batman. We're done with the Batman.
Fuck the Batman.
Chuck will be happy about this news. They're doing a new updated season of Frasier.
Oh,
Yes. I know. I'm excited about it.
with his son, right?
Actually, I'm nervous
Yeah.
about it because I am a Frasier fan and everyone gives me shit about it, but I do. I think it's one of the funniest shows, and I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, I think, but I don't know the story plot of it. But I love Kelsey Grammer, so yeah, I'm looking forward.
Yeah, it shouldn't be bad. I never really got into the original show, but I might have to go back and check some of it out. I hear it's funny.
Well,
you,
on my Frasier group that I'm a part of, everybody's pretty hyped about that too.
Did you
Not
ever?
kidding.
Were you a fan of Cheers?
Yeah, it took me a while to really get into it because I didn't really start watching it till years later. I mean, obviously, like I wasn't, when it was out, I was Nick at Night and shit,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was okay. But I was like Frasier more. I always like the character of Frasier. I don't know. Just something about him. I think because I'm kind of like him in ways. I don't know. I'm just not rich and not successful, and yeah, I'm just I'm just a fucking whiny asshole, I guess. Well, you know,
Close.
hey, whatever.
Well, unrelated movie and TV show news, we do have Ozzy Osbourne announced he is finally retiring from touring.
Sad.
So that's a bummer for the music world and the Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness, yeah. The man that has said he was done so many times before. I remember I got a video of the No More Tours tour that years ago where he was like, "Yeah, I'm done," and it was just like he even would say all. He's like, I've said I've done 1,000 times. I can't say I'm done, and unfortunately, he just has to now, and it's sad, man. It's really sad, and also like I was telling you all, anybody that's familiar with the Robert the Doll, the haunted doll, Ozzy actually blames Robert the Doll on all his health problems that he had shortly after visiting that thing. You can look it up. There's a whole article and interview about it.
I don't
know. I don't know, man.
Maybe the countless years of drug abuse.
But he hasn't been doing. That's a whole other conversation because he's been off that shit for years, and he was actually
just fine.
Well, I mean,
biting the head.
But I mean, but also like me, I'm a believer in all kinds of fucked up shit. So difference of opinions, fine. But these days, who knows?
Right.
Prince of Darkness taken down by a doll. Stranger things have happened.
And then some what the fuck news. So apparently they're finally going ahead and pressing charges on Alec Baldwin for manslaughter.
I saw that.
I mean,
what's your opinions on that shit?
I mean,
nobody got arrested really whenever Brandon Lee got shot.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you can't. It's an accident, unless you can prove there's some kind of intent there beforehand. Then nothing's going to go through. It's just a formality, really.
It's not like he was the one fucking with the prop table or something, like swapping out weapons and shit.
Well, see, here's the thing about that, because I was reading some theories about some shit, and apparently the woman that got killed, that got shot by him on accident or whatever, she was a part of some group or whatever that was against him or something that he was for. So I can't remember exactly what it was. So there's a whole like conspiracy theory that he did it on purpose, but made it look like an accident. I don't know. Alec Baldwin's got a history of being a little bit of a loose cannon. Would he go off to be that brave enough to actually shoot somebody? I mean, it's all fucked up. I don't know. The Brandon Lee situation, that was a little different because nobody really knew exactly how that all happened or whatever, and it wasn't like there was no reason for it on purpose. And Alec Baldwin he's got such a fucking reputation, and I don't know. And it's a weird thing. I don't know if he. I don't know. It'd be kind of weird if he ends up going to fucking prison, for this shit.
He won't. This happens after any kind of accident on any kind of film. I mean, if you even go back to Twilight Zone, John Landis got charged with involuntary manslaughter. He was on trial for like 9 months,
because of the helicopter thing.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's just something that happens anytime there's an accidental death, especially when you're dealing with a movie studio and lots of money and lots of famous people and stuff like that. So it's just something that happens.
And a Baldwin.
Baldwin's always...
If it involves a Baldwin, there's always a lawsuit. Yeah. Doesn't matter which brother it is. They've had so many.
Their lawyer gets paid.
True.
What's Billy doing again? Fuck, he got drunk and drove into a speedway.
That's like that always reminds me of Ed Norton on the People versus Larry Flint. Whenever he played Larry Flint's lawyer.
Love that movie.
It's like fucking every day he fucking had to deal with them.
Yeah, that's crazy shit. But let's move on to the topic of the evening. 1993, Harold Ramis's Groundhog Day, starring the man Bill Murray. This movie, I went back and watched again, and this shit's still fucking funny as shit. I don't care. Like, I pretty much laughed the whole time. And then I notice every time I watch it, I like different parts of it more. Like, sometimes I'll watch, like, I like the beginning more whenever they're setting everything up. Then other times I just like all the crazy shit towards, like, the middle and the end.
30th anniversary.
Yes, it is.
I hadn't seen Groundhog Day. I watched it last night. I hadn't seen it since like 10, 15 years. It's one of those I kind of forgot how funny it was, and I was sitting over here like just cracking up, man. Like it was great.
It's never too early for flapjacks.
Never too early for flapjacks.
But yeah, in 3 days on the 4th, it'll be exactly 30 years since the premiere. So it's pretty crazy. You know, it's still one of those like films that sticks around all these years later, and just has that cult following as well.
I mean, it was said to be like one of the the best movies or best comedies that came out in the 90s, or like one of the most popular ones anyway. The original script for it was supposed to be a lot darker, and Murray and Ramis had issues with that.
Like, I forget which site I saw, but they named it the 34th funniest comedy ever.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah,
that's up there.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
Oh, this movie was so good. Like the storyline itself is just ridiculous. Like, a guy works for the Pittsburgh weather. He's the Pittsburgh weatherman. Then he goes to Puxatawny, PA, and covers the Groundhog special every year. And then he's just a miserable, grumpy guy. He pretty much hates his life, even though he pretty much almost has everything he kind of would want. And then he is. And then next thing you know, like, he does the first day for Groundhog's Day, like the first news special, then he relives the same day over and over again. And everybody always asked the question of how long was the loop. And then, like, I know in the beginning, Harold Ramis said that he was thinking 10 years, but then him and Dan Rubens were talking about it, and they were like 30 to 40 years. Yeah. And then they were talking about it even later, and they were thinking maybe 70 years. So the time frame on this is crazy.
I didn't think about that.
At one point, Ramis was even saying it could possibly be up to 10,000 years.
Now I'd read that that was just fake news.
But they were saying something. I think that got portrayed because, like, his wife is a Buddhist. Yeah, and she always preached everything like you don't learn anything and you don't do anything for 10,000 years before you live.
Yeah. Somehow it was like two different stories got combined, and somehow came to the conclusion, oh yeah, it's 10,000 years, and they were trying to say it was based on an old script and this and that, but I don't think it was never really clearly identified. Yeah.
Dave said it was what culture brought it down to 34 years.
Yeah, they did a little study into it and figured out that it was about 34 years, and I think so many days and so many hours or whatever. But
could you imagine? Like, he would fucking go bananas. Like, it was no wonder, like, in parts of the movie where he's killing himself in just different ways, and like, he would fucking go nuts. Especially being in a town, like, in the beginning, like a town that you totally hate and despise, and then you're just fucking stuck there for like 30, 40 years. Like, no, like, you're fucking going to go bonkers. I like when he swings it around, though, and then just starts trying to master every fucking thing.
Yeah. Like, it turns into a pop.
You like when he swings it around and tries to master it?
Yes.
Okay.
Like a reach around?
Making sure.
He's clapping with no hands.
Bing!
Hey, now.
Bing again.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that, like, because, you know, like, when he starts realizing that, you know, like, when he, like, is out drinking with those dudes, one of them being the guy that played Art in the Burbs. I can't remember his name. But that guy's always, like, funny in everything he's in. And he realizes, he's like, you know what? Like, I'm going to test this. And then he goes to jail, and then he wakes up and he's fine. Like, I think that for the first little bit, I would have a blast with this. I completely would take advantage of so many horrible, horrible things. If I knew for a fact I was going to wake up tomorrow and everything's going to be fine. Like I would
Everybody
be a
says-
horrible person.
He's like everybody says, don't mix beer and wine. Oh yeah, and they also say never drive on the railroad tracks.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that one.
It's such
They're
a
all just bopping around.
good film.
Yeah.
Because not only is it like and a romantic comedy type deal or whatever, but it makes you think about things, you know, and
Oh yeah, it really
all
does.
kinds of different things, like life and everything like that. Like if there was no, what would you do? You know, and,
Right.
and if you know, it's interesting because you break it down into the things you would do, but it gives you kind of introspective look into the kind of person you are, where it's like, oh yeah, most of us are going to do all these selfish, fucked up things, you know, like okay,
We
we're going to steal a bag of money, or we're going to go, you know, try to sleep with a bunch of women, or do this or do that, and it's like, it's really interesting, you know, just to
Yeah,
think
buddy.
about it.
And they even break it down that way first, because like as soon as he starts realizing what's going on, he does start doing a bunch of crazy shit, like just to
Yeah.
appease himself. You know what I mean? Then it kind of goes on to where he's just fed up with everything.
Where he
And then-
steals the money and then goes off and buys that car and then dresses like Clint Eastwood and tries like his best like impression of that. That's got to be one of my favorite scenes. It's great. I love that shit. And how he you know, but it also because it also shows how he
Call me Bronco.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
this was a costume party. But like because it really does show how like after a while he realizes the way being this way isn't working. Like maybe I should use this for good instead of bad. And especially the timeline. I don't know how long it would take me before I started wanting to do good. That may sound really fucked up, but whatever. I mean, I would
I
kill
mean, you
so
figure
many
in that
people.
time frame, like you pretty much can do everything imaginable.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it'd be bad. Actually, I'll tell you what it would be if I had that situation. Okay. You ever played the game Postal 2? Remember that game? In this game,
No.
you're a guy who walks around and basically causes chaos wherever he goes. It was a banned game for a while. Look it up sometime. It's fucking great. But like, he walks around and pisses on people, fucking kills everybody, but they do it in a comedic way. I'm pretty sure that's how it would go if I was kind of. I would be I'm telling you, I'd be a horrible person for so many days. Horrible.
You go to the local gun store and then just start a fucking murder spree for a day.
Oh no! I might no. I'm going to get you a couple of chainsaws and I'm pulling a Dennis Hopper on these motherfuckers. It's gotta come down! I swear to fuck. I'd take that fucking that groundhog and I would slice him up in 1,000 pieces. In front of everybody. Be great. Ah!
That's what's crazy too, because I heard like they were going to actually use the real Puxatawny Phil for the movie, but then whenever they changed it, like they filmed it in Woodstock, Illinois, and then apparently they just caught a groundhog and used it and named him Scooter, and then like during like a couple of the scenes with Bill Murray, apparently the thing bit the shit out of Murray. Like,
Yeah. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, he had to
That's
get
like,
that's
like
fucking
shots.
crazy. Yeah, go out and fucking just get a wild groundhog and fucking. He's
was,
the star of the show. Oh,
It's
Ned.
a doozy.
Yep. That's my friend Ashley.
Bing again.
She's a big fan of the movie as well. And I guess she actually went and saw one of the places that was in the movie at one point or something. But yeah, actually the one thing about this movie that kind of sucks though, but the back story of it though is the fact that it was the last time that that Ramis and Murray worked together because they couldn't get over their beef about like how they wanted this movie to go, because Murray wanted it more of a serious, and of course Ramis wanted to be funny, and they didn't really talk again until Ramis almost died, and or he was right before he died. So it's kind of sad, but
It is.
Actually it's really fucking sad. And if you've seen the Ghostbusters movie that came out a couple of years ago,
That end scene's rough. Yeah.
Oh God, you would talk about being a kid all over again and just it's bad.
Well, I know, like initially,
Good
Rubens
movie.
wanted Kevin Kline to play Phil, and then whenever Ramis came in, he wanted Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
fuck Tom Hanks.
And then Tom
No.
Hanks declined, and then they ended up picking up Murray. Or no, Michael. And then Michael Keaton was supposed to be Phil as well, but he declined, and he's the one that said like years later that he really regretted it.
I could see Keaton.
He said it sounds like something he could play. He just didn't really understand the story, so that's why he didn't take it. But I think that would have been like a kind of a different movie too if he would have played it. It would have been like Multiplicity.
Well, and that's right. That's like watching Last Action Hero and seeing the poster with Stallone instead of Arnold on the Terminator 2 poster. You know,
Right?
It's like how would that movie go? You know what I mean? It's like I could see Keaton being in there. It's like I could see him do this shit. But Murray is just
say come with me if you want to live in your Stallone voice.
no. You know, come with me if you want to live. Eh? You could do it, but you could try.
But I mean, I think anybody else in this role, it wouldn't have been the same. It would have like we've talked about before, the Bill Murray formula of him in films where he starts out as an asshole and then progressively through the film, you fall in love with him and he becomes a good. This is the epitome of that. You know, the script follows that formula to a T, and you see the transition from him being the miserable person to being so content with life.
Yeah.
Sometimes I guess that's what it takes. It's a serious eye opener. And this one, Jesus, I don't know. Go on.
I was saying, I was going to follow saying before about that video game, where it was another thing I was thinking about whenever I was watching this. It kind of feels like a video game. You know, in a game, you'll go in there and then as soon as you die, you start over and you do it all over again. You know, and has that vibe to it as well. Yeah. So that's another thing that, you know, like I said, it makes all kinds of different things. You know, this even came to be. Like, I know there's no definitive answer. Like, they said how the time loop started or what caused it or anything like that. But there's theories and everything that goes along with it. Who knows?
Well, I know like the original script said it started right in the middle. And then they were going to run with that, but then the producer or whatever was talking to Ramis and was like, yeah, well, the backstory would be fun watching him progress into realizing what the fuck's going on. So then he wrote a couple drafts up and then they ended up going with that.
Yeah, they wanted to break it down into a 3-act story.
Right.
Which is crazy, like, because I've just now seen this shit too. But apparently what brought on the whole idea was an Anne Rice book. Apparently that's where the idea came from, was the Vampire Lestat.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, because he was talking about the whole idea of vampires and immortality and all that shit or whatever, which is so funny considering what this movie is. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think the concept came up in like the mid '80s or some shit, and then like it came across Ramis's desk, and he was like, it was like the late '70s or something like that. I know it was in like the works for a while, and then whenever Ramis saw it, he's like, yeah, this is funny. He's like, this could be a good movie.
Well, Danny Rubin had written
1990.
Written the story. According to Rubin, it wasn't based off of anything. It was just an idea he had. Whenever he was getting ready, he had made a list of all these different ideas that he had for screenplays and everything like that. And he finally he started selling some of them, and it was just one of his ideas. Like, oh, this guy just lives the same day. And a lot of people try to compare it to other books, stuff from even like 100 years ago. And I think there was even an author that tried to sue at first, and it didn't go anywhere. But Rubens just said it was just like an idea that popped into his head, and he really supposed to be based on anything. So
yeah. Well, the Anne Rice thing was just this where the idea came from in his head about that shit. But, you know, just like an influence, or not like based on anything, but just kind of an idea, you know, because that happens, you know, as a writer. I mean, like, you can You know, I could take a piss in a fucking like, you know, bathroom stall and come up with a fucked up idea of a fucking story. You know what I mean,
dude?
Like,
Oh gosh, that shit happens to me
and
all
I have.
the time. I'll always be sitting on an idea, and I'll think it's a fucking great idea, and somehow it's already done. I'm like, how do these people come up with my ideas before I do?
I've had some fucked up story ideas, and then I look more into it and find out that wow, somebody else is about as fucked up as I am. Why would anybody else have that idea in their head?
Yeah, already been
It
done.
happens, and yeah, so it's just kind of weird that, you know, the idea popped up in his head while reading a Anne Rice book. You know, but that's interesting. Shit happens. Weird stuff happens. Ozzy Osbourne, you know, blames a doll for his health problems. So stranger things have happened.
Very true. And then again, his brother makes the appearance in this movie.
Yeah.
His brother Brian, he's in pretty much just about, I would say, almost everything that freaking Bill's in.
I'm only 9 years old. I always remember him Scrooged. He always tries to put his brothers in his movies, but just about whenever he can.
What is he in this? Is he the mayor of Puxatawny or whatever, or just
Yeah, I
like
think that's what
a
he
government official kind of thing?
Yeah, I think
he's
he
the mayor.
is the mayor in it. Yeah.
Like he's like, every year it's the same old thing. You grab the big squirrel out of the box, and he either sees his shadow or he doesn't. Blah 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 blah.
I think that's
hates
how
his
I would
life.
go about it too.
He really does, and he even says it in like towards the end, like, I don't like my life.
Yeah, like when you're watching him try to win Rita over, like you're kind of like you're sitting there like you're watching the movie and you're seeing what he's doing and you're like, oh come on man, and then like he pushes too hard. He pushes too hard, like, you know, and it's just like, come on, but like I don't know, it's actually kind of fucked up how he just kind of, I don't know. I don't want to use the word that pops in my head, but like he kind of
Stalks her.
that's not the word, but yeah, kind of. Well, I mean, it's just like, I don't know, him just figuring out different things. So every day he uses that against her. Like,
Right.
I don't know. Like,
No white
I don't
fudge. Check.
yeah. What are you doing? Did you talk to my friends? Like, you know, and the thing is, though, the parts where where like he doesn't want her to go because like he really doesn't want her to go, you know, because he actually likes her or whatever. And like he starts developing more of just sexual feelings for her. And when he's just like, no, you can't go. Like, really, you can't go. Like, I don't know. You kind of feel him on that shit because it's just like, what a shitty situation. Like, this girl's like falling for you finally, all this shit, and just like, gonna wake up tomorrow and you gotta fucking try to. It's like being with an Alzheimer's patient. I think. I mean, you know, you'd have to fucking keep every day reminding, like 51st dates. You have to keep reminding.
Yeah,
and keep trying to fucking like, you know, and that would God, that would suck. Because, you know, I'll tell you what, you know, I've chased after a few ladies in my day, and a few of them took a lot longer than they probably should have. And I don't, God, what a bunch of heartbreak. No wonder he was fucking miserable. The more I think about it, like, that would suck. I'd move on. I'd just go back to that teacher chick. Get what you need. Go away.
This is Nancy. She makes noises like a chipmunk whenever she's really excited. What you do?
I love the scene where they're sitting in the coffee shop. He's trying to explain to her what's going on. He's like, "What if I'm a god?" And he's like, and then he just starts all this shit. Like, he's like, "I know about this, da 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 da, and all that stuff, whatever." So I guess for him to know about all those fucking people, go back to the timeline, it would have to be he'd been there for a long time for him to know everybody in town, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that and just whenever he starts becoming like an ice sculptor, then he like masters the fucking piano and he just does everything. He becomes like a doctor, and then he fucking every day, like whenever he starts like that one like final day, whenever he's like, I have errands to run or whatever, and then he goes and catches the fucking kid. He fucking saves his brother from choking on some steak, and then like all this other shit. Like he had everything timed down to a T, so you fucking know he's been around for a minute.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fucked up? Wouldn't that be fucked up if his brother? his brother in real life died by choking on a piece of steak?
That would be fucked up.
Are we going to predict Brian Murray's death right here?
God, can we not do that? Jesus Christ.
You never know.
Let's not, okay? Let's not.
Stranger things have happened.
I mean, considering the fact that the other podcast I used to be a part of, like we talked about Studio 666,
Right.
and found out right afterwards, in the middle of our podcast, they found Taylor Hawkins dead. So
Yeah.
let's not curse the Murrays here, okay? Let's not do. Bill does it pretty good on his own. So,
But yeah, I mean,
Chris Elliott, he cracks me up too.
oh yeah,
who?
Chris Elliott.
Oh yeah, he is funny. He's one of those that, like, there's sometimes I just want to just punch him in the mouth and things he's in. Like, I know everybody like, oh, my little hand. Like, oh,
Cabin
God.
Boy.
Oh God, I remember Cabin Boy. It's one of the worst fucking movies ever made. I swear to fuck, I hate that movie. Hey, would you like to buy a monkey? Like, no. Actually, what's funny about that is, because I don't even remember if that's actually the movie or not, but David Letterman had a whole thing about Cabin Boy. And I don't remember if it was a skit he did or whatever, but like in my head, I was like, it'd just be funny if it just over and over again was like, hey, you want to buy a monkey? It's a bad happens to it. I don't know. It was funny at the time. I was like 13 when I came up with some shit with that. But anyway, Cabin Boy sucked. That's all I got on that one. Sorry, it happens. Hey.
What was the what's that chick's name in that movie now? Again, Ann something?
Andy McDowell?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, who was actually in that that badass movie Ready or Not? That came out in recent years. And she's pretty mean bitch in that one. Like, yeah, and she's still hot. I've always thought she was like hot in that cute way. Like, you're the girl next door, but you seem innocent, but you like to be tied up, don't you? Don't you? Or do you like to do the tying up? You know, just saying.
you forgot who Andy McDowell was, Chad?
I did. I couldn't think of her name for some reason. It slipped me. Like I said, I didn't get much sleep today.
The female lead.
I didn't get much sleep today.
Who is that main guy in that film? That Phil Collins?
Was it Buster Keaton? No.
Buster Douglas?
Yeah, fucking Andy McDowell. Such a good, chemistry between her and Bill. You can really feel like they have good chemistry. It's not one of those things like that. They play off each other well, and she does a great job.
I wonder how many times she had to turn him down. If she did
in real life,
I don't know. Yeah, I just Bill Murray's got kind of a history and a reputation. He comes to Lexington all the time for the fucking horse races and shit. I got a few bartender friends that it's about half and half. Half of them say that he was a pleasure to serve and to be around, and then I guess it was like the other half of people that after he had drank so much at one bar and then he was already trashed, and then he just kind of he doesn't come off too nice when he's a certain way. But that's kind of not anything that's unknown. I mean, he's always been kind of a drunker, and,
Yeah, there's mixed stories about him in real life. I can't imagine at that time that he would be trying to hit on her or anything like that. The big thing that people say from all that was that he was miserable in real life because he was getting ready to go through a divorce with him, and that's what kind of put him on edge and made him confident Ramus and everything like that. So,
do you know why he was getting why she wanted the divorce?
No,
because he drank too much and smoked too much weed, and he was constantly like, I don't know if it was because he was cheating or what it was flirting too much. I remember reading about that. Yeah, like smoked too much weed and drank too much and made a lot of bad decisions. She was done with it.
How do happen?
But they didn't end up divorcing until 3 years later. So, I mean, I don't know, but
they still divorced.
They fucked him up. They did.
Yeah.
Fucked him up.
As
Ramus, which sucks.
Yeah, which sucks all around. Everything, Which I mean, I because I don't know how long him and his wife were together, but you're with somebody for a long period of time, regardless if you're married or not. And it's getting ready to come to an end, and you've got to go put on your fucking game face to go fucking make a damn movie that's going to be seen by millions of people. Like,
Like,
I wonder. I'd be kind of in a weird mood too.
I was gonna say, I wonder how far into filming they were before they had their little tiff. Because apparently, like, Ramis grabbed him by the shirt collar and pushed him up against the building.
It was before they even started filming.
Oh, was it beforehand?
Yeah, because Murray was working with Ruben on of the screenplay because they were trying to do something different, and was saying how it was like pulling teeth trying to get the pages they were working on, and whatever the final product was that they came up with like 2 weeks before shooting started, it was a disaster for the most part. So there was friction before they even stepped on the set. And then throughout the filming, it was just, back off. And like you said, it finally came to head whenever he grabbed Murray by the shirt and slammed up against the wall. It was one of those things where Murray was just being completely unreasonable at all the time. Multiple people have said Murray was just fucked up. Whatever he had going on in his life, was coming out, and it wasn't a good time for him. And it just sucks.
You could tell the tension too. Like if you go back and watch like the one thing that they had, like the one scene whenever they were filming in the van, and then I guess Ramis is on a radio, and Murray Ramis is like action, and then Murray's like, "Hey Harold, are you a director or are you a stylist?" And he's like, "Okay, let's go."
Yeah, just smart ass comment, and it's typical Murray fashion. They said that it got to a point arguing so much that Ramis was like, I'm not going to talk to him anymore. He has to get an assistant, and I'll relay messages from me to him through her. So, of course, Murray, being the smart ass he is, he hired a deaf woman that only spoke American Sign as the assistant. So fucking Ramis would give the messages, and then Murray would send him back with this woman, and she didn't speak at all. Like she would just be doing sign language, and Ramis is just like, "What the fuck?"
Hey Chad, totally off topic, but I just realized you're wearing a Clutch shirt.
I am.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Local boys.
Yeah, man. I've yet to see that band live. I've got to see.
They're so good. I've seen them.
My guitar player Josh has seen them so many fucking times, and I've never seen them. They're coming around here in the next couple of months, and well, I think they're coming to like Cincinnati or whatever, which is whatever. But I'm gonna try to go to that show because they're fucking amazing. But anyway,
it's a good time.
Yeah, I just noticed you leaned back. I saw it, and I was like, oh shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've been a fan of them since the early like the mid '90s.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah. Something else. Well, there was something else about this fucking movie with I just want to comment on how Bill Murray is like known to be confrontational with people. I mean, look at the Chevy Chase feud, which Chevy Chase is an asshole anyway. So when you have two people who are known to be assholes, because they actually got in a fist fight. So which I'm Team Murray more than I am Team Chase. I mean, I like a lot of Chevy Chase movies, I do, but the guy you all met him.
Yeah, it's a toss-up.
In that video, the video you showed of him signing stuff or whatever and shit, I don't know.
He wasn't really an asshole that day. He was just real stern. He wasn't really an asshole though. But
yeah,
I don't know. I met them both. I've met them both, and they both have days. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I'd be afraid. I would almost be afraid to meet Bill Murray just because I wouldn't know what mood he would be in. Because knowing me, I would stumble over my words and say something fucking stupid. Unless he was to be at a bar that I was at and I'm already drinking, and I got him a drink and then smoked a joint with him. I'm sure we'd probably get along then. But still, I've heard horror stories. The bartenders and him.
With Murray, I feel like if he feels it's part of his production in life where he's like created this scenario where he shows up or he's doing something and you're a part of it, he's okay with people. But if you kind of enter into his world without being invited, then he's very standoffish. And that's just the impression I've always got from him. So.
And that makes sense, you know.
Yeah, it's a little understanding.
But I mean, it's we're talking about somebody that, like, as a kid, I always thought was great. Like I Ghostbusters, obviously, and then of course Caddyshack. I think was hilarious in that. Like, and as I got older, and I just kept watching Bill Murray movies, and I was like, I love all this shit. He's great. Now, this I don't know what I was gonna say about this. This was also a movie that actually started him playing in more serious roles. This movie got him a little more serious roles later on down the road. You ever seen Broken Flowers?
Mm-hmm.
I have not.
It's a slow burn of a movie, but it's a good one. But it's not what you would think at all when you think of a Bill Murray movie. I think it's one of his best movies. You know, and the thing is, it wasn't too far from how he was actually was at that time.
Right.
You know, like I don't know. Like, check that one out, Chad.
I'll check it out.
Broken Flowers. It's a good one. I've watched it a few times.
I mean, if you think about it, after this film, you know, obviously him and Ramis sever their relationship, and you don't really ever get any kind of films like that. You don't get any more Stripes, you don't get any more Ghostbusters, you don't get any Caddyshack stuff. It's a different Murray. And if you go back, even during that time, you can see that the projects that Murray wanted to do were a little bit more serious. And I feel like when I watch those films, whenever he worked with Ramis knew how to bring out Bill Murray in the characters. It's like how we were talking about Jack Nicholson and how there's certain roles that he is remembered for that you can tell, like Cuckoo's Nest, like Batman, The Shining, just little things about his personality is so much ingrained in the characters to where you love them both because you love him as a person and you love him as a character. And it's like those films are the ones that stand out to us, you know, and our generation, where that's Bill Murray. You know, we don't sit there. We say, okay, we can watch Lost Translation or, you know, Broken Flowers or Life Aquatic, any of those films, and be like, okay, you know, but it doesn't feel like a Bill Murray type film. And I felt like Ramis knew how to bring out his personality in those characters. And I feel like the struggle for Murray was always that, you know, similar to kind of like Jim Carrey or anybody that's a comedian, where you're kind of put in serious. Yeah, you're the kind of guy that's like I feel this way, where I'm the type of guy that whenever I grew up, I was never athletic. I was never like a preppy, popular type person or anything like that. So I always relied on my wit, my charm, and those sort of things to, you know, bring out my personality. And so you try to be more comical, you try to be funny, you try to be witty, and on all these things, and that's those type of characteristics that stick out in Bill Murray, where it's like, you know, he's always, you know, or Jim Carrey, it's like, oh, we're always going to be funny, we're always going to be entertaining, you know, we want to be the life of the party and this and that. But at some point, you stop feeling that way. You look and you're like, wow, you know, I feel more like the court jester. Like whenever somebody wants to laugh, they're just going to cart me out, and I'm going to make people laugh. And at some point,
sorry, I was just going to, you start out making the jokes, then you kind of feel like you are the joke.
Right. So at some point, you're like, I want to be taken seriously. I don't want to always just be the joke. And I feel like that was, you know, that's a struggle for a lot of these comedic actors. And, you know, I feel like that's just where Murray was going in his mind. I don't know. That's just speculation.
I was the same way. As you were talking, using humor or whatever. Unfortunately for me, I got my humor from Andrew Dice Clay at a young age.
Yeah, same here.
So I would do Andrew Dice Clay impressions and jokes that now I couldn't do, and because I was funny. That was, you know.
Oh, I was sent to the office a lot in elementary school for saying inappropriate jokes from watching Dice and other various...
Hickory Dock, your wife was sucking my cock.
Oh, but
Bang!
I
Clock struck 2. I dropped my goo. I knocked that bitch under the block. Oh, canceled.
it's funny.
Canceled. I'm fucking canceled. Canceled.
It's funny.
I didn't
just
write it.
saw-
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
I just saw a meme the other day where it's like, oh, you want to criticize me for my problems? This was my childhood, and it's a picture of like Dice Clay, Sam Kinison, George Carlin, Eddie Murphy,
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor. Like that's all we grew up. That's for me. That's,
Bill Hicks.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I wasn't big on Bill Hicks, but like those five
I'm
guys.
a big Bill Hicks fan.
Those five guys, man. Everything.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite like parts in the movie?
Who?
Anybody?
Anybody?
Talking
It's
to
tough.
me? You
I
talking to
mean,
me?
obviously the stuff with Ned. What's his name? Oh,
Yeah. I forgot. I love whenever he just says Ned really loud, then he fucking punches him. That
Stephen
shit's
Tobolowsky.
That guy.
Phil?
God.
Ned?
Stephen Tobolowsky. I feel like
Yeah.
that's one of the most memorable characters, and Stephen
Moments.
Tobolowsky. Yeah, he nails the character. It was actually Kurt Fuller was
we'll get there,
originally
Dave.
Kurt Fuller was originally supposed to be the Ned Ryerson character, and you know who that is, right, Chad?
Oh yeah.
Okay. and you can see the similarities in him and Tobolowsky, and he believed almost up until they were filming that he was going to have that role, and they actually worked together on like some other film, and Fuller kept going on and on about how he was going to have this role as Ned Ryerson in this movie, and Tobolowsky's like, well, my agent told me I was going to have it, and he never said anything. And then the day came where he got the call, and he's like, well, what is it? And he's like, well, you got the job. And they were like working together, and Fuller got the same call that day from his agent saying you didn't get the part. So there was a lot of tension, but they're still friends and everything like that. But it was just it's so weird that both those guys were going out for the role, and they were working together and friends already, and it just worked out that way. But yeah, very memorable character that stands out to everybody.
Also with the Ned shit, I also got to say, like, the scene where like he finally like he's like Ned, and he like gives him a hug, and he's just like, oh, I've missed you, and he's like oh, well, I've got to go, and it was like backwards, it was like the whole vice versa thing with that.
Is there any way you can just cancel your day and we can go?
Yeah, whatever you had planned,
Cancel your
can you just
plans and
call out.
yeah, the shit with the old man with the guy he called Pop, the homeless guy. That was a pretty. I'm not gonna lie. Old Chuck Nasty here got a little bit teary-eyed on that. That was
For sure.
That was some brutal shit.
Yeah,
It
that
really
was a
was.
sad moment.
And it's interesting because now going back and watching it so many years later as a 42-year-old man, you view films in a different way. That you watched when you were younger. Obviously, we've talked about this, but especially something like this is a little bit more serious, where the experiences we've had in our lives as we've gotten older, you start to see things, and especially like that where the guy is dying. He's a stranger more or less, but because Murray sees him every day, it's he becomes more like a friend, or something like that, where it's to a point where he's like he's the woman's like sometimes people just die, and he's like, not today, and he does everything he can to try to make sure that this guy doesn't die today, and there's nothing he can do. And that's the saddest thing, because I've experienced that in my life with my grandparents and everything, where it's like it sucks so fucking bad that you're completely helpless. Like you feel like if you had all the money in the world, you had all the power, just like in this film, he has the power to do anything he wants with no repercussions, and still there's nothing he can do to stop the fate of this man. So it's tragic, both in real life and in this film.
Yeah, probably one of the more moving scenes from this. But some of my favorite scenes, though, was like the Ned stuff was always funny. That every time that it came back to that, you're just like, because it was funny because his reactions every time, and like when he started realizing that I'm just gonna wake up, same thing every day, and like he goes downstairs and he, gets the breakfast stuff, ends up kissing the old woman, and then like he's like, oh, you got some coffee? Like, I don't know, like it.
Ashley said that it's like a movie that's pretty much to sell insurance. So I could see that, especially like the one scene after he does like the ballroom party or whatever. Then he's fucking pretty much everybody's thanking him, and she's like, "You're the most popular guy in town. And you come here once a year. Like, what the fuck?" Which is kind of interesting too, because like that means he did all this shit in one day to like
he's won
really
all these
leave an impression.
He's won over a whole town in a 24-hour period, less than 24 hours.
Right.
So, and it's
He
weird.
learns to play an instrument. Like that, I personally, for obvious reasons, I love the part where they're like, oh well, he's already in there, and they're like the party and shit, and everybody's like, oh yeah, great, because everybody loves him, and he's on stage with the fucking jazz band and shit, and he's just playing piano. I'm like, yes, this is great. But I also got to say that band had great gear, because that stand-up bass and that Gibson that guy was playing.
It's just funny too, because he gets that good, but then that one lady's still like, he's my student. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because all she remembers is he showed up today or that day, and it was like, okay, I want you to teach me. And I mean, at that point, he didn't even need taught.
Right.
So
right.
I don't know how she would think. Whatever.
Kicks that poor girl out when he first goes over there. I'll give you $1,000.
$1,000.
And she's like, and then all of a sudden you see that poor girl. She's stupid shit like that's funny to me.
And he's so bad. Like I always like some of the death scenes too. Like just like the one where he just steps out in front of the truck and he's just like,
bye bye.
Dives off to the building, drives off.
Does like the fucking swanton off the top of the church.
Yeah, he's just trying to be all poetic, like, all right, let me fall to my death. All this stuff. He's just going through. You see him going through all these phases of like acceptance and grief and everything like that. And it's like to see the transitions. I think is the best part. Especially whenever he gets to that part where he decides like it's he's gone through all the stuff where he's done all of his selfish things. He's slept with people. He's done all this, stole money. And then he's finally to the point where because he can't get Andy McDowell to sleep with him, that, he's like, well, there's nothing left for me. And he steals the Groundhog and decides to drive off a cliff. So this is it. That's the first death scene. He's finally like, okay,
right.
I just got to give up and kill myself because there's no escaping it.
Somebody stole Phil. We're going after him.
Yep.
Don't drive angry.
Oh yeah, that's a very memorable scene. That's something you always remember is him like letting the Groundhog drive.
It's funny.
That's where I got these pictures from. I got that scene, and then I have him like
the commercial. Yeah, the commercial one.
Oh shit! When did the commercial come out?
That was like Super Bowl, I think, one year. I can't remember when it was.
I don't remember either.
Oh, because I was sitting there looking at this, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what? I don't remember that." And now it's okay. Yeah, it was a commercial. Yeah, that's funny.
But
you guys have any?
I was going to say that that whole scene where it's like "Don't drive angry." Apparently, that inspired the movie "Drive Angry," starring Nick Cage, which I've never seen.
Oh, really?
But I heard about.
I have. It's not terrible, but it's not great either.
Yeah,
it's watchable. I stumbled upon it one day on accident. Me and my cousin watched it, and we were like,
I don't even remember it. I don't even know what the movie is.
The 2020 Super Bowl, Dave said.
Okay. Yeah, I felt like it was recent, but I couldn't remember.
I wish we were able to play the commercial on here. Are we allowed to do that or no?
No.
We're not
allowed to do anything on here, but everybody else can. Just not us.
Everybody else is allowed, not us, though.
Another interesting fact going back and watching this, which I never realized until now, was that the debut of Michael Shannon in this film.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I almost forgot about that.
Young-ass Michael Shannon.
What's his name?
When he came up, I was like, oh, shit. That's that one fucking guy.
WrestleMania
shit.
tickets.
Yeah. They're so excited.
That was 93, so that was when wrestling was in its prime. Like, that was the good
That's
days.
some good shit. Yeah. Yeah, man. I was thinking that too. I was like, who was at that one?
But that also
Like-
raises the question of how did he get those tickets in a day and then just like hand them off or whatever? Because Dave, we do have to wrap this up shortly, but Dave wants to hear about our time loops theories.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think, Chad?
I think they just fucking like just drove into some crazy bullshit, and then all because like almost like a fairy godfather, godmother,
Great answer.
kind of
Great
way.
answer.
But no, like he's just trying to redeem himself and get better qualities, like mentally, and be in a happier, better place. So that was the whole reason to teach him how to be more humbling and accept and enjoy life.
Mine's a real hippie answer.
What's
I'm
that?
so
He was
far from
tripping
hippie.
on some fucking shrooms and
Now that would be a real like trip like hippie answer. But no, I think it's just love. I think that, you know, when he actually got to the point where he wasn't just trying to, you know, fuck Rita, and he actually was caring about her every fucking day that he spent with her and everything, whatever. Like, he actually genuinely cared about her, and instead of just himself. And I think that, you know, that had a lot to do with it. And I think when he learned, you know, like you feel really good for him when he wakes up and she's still there. Everybody loves that, you know.
Sure.
You wake up and they're still next to you. It means
they
there's
can't-
a chance for another time.
you can't really love somebody else if you don't love yourself.
It's true. It's true. Which I don't understand because I love myself so much. I'm still alone. Maybe that's why.
It's because all the
It's
other bitches don't love themselves.
You know, you could be right on that one, Chad.
Thanks, Jack.
I was gonna, he's pulling it right out. I don't know. This is one of those ones that made me, like I said earlier, it makes you think about a lot of shit. And I started
really does.
analyzing it. I start analyzing it, and it's like maybe I'm thinking too much. Maybe there's nothing there, but it's interesting to think about. And one of the theories that was going around on the internet was that Ned is really the devil. And yeah, you hadn't heard this? Okay. So the theory is that Ned's the devil, and he meets the devil, and the devil's trying to sell him life insurance, but it's not really life insurance. It's a
His
metaphor
soul.
for, he's trying to get Bill Murray's character to sell his soul, and he won't do it. And then by the end, he finally buys the insurance and basically sells his soul, and then that's when he breaks the cycle. So a lot of people think that Ned is the devil. Another interesting thing about Ned is I was like, he comes up to Phil and he knows all these things about Phil, and Phil has no idea what he's talking about. He's like, oh, you know, going through all these different things. And that's the same exact thing that Phil does to people later on. So I was like, what if fucking Ned was in a time loop and we just don't know it because we're so focused on the Phil Connors character, you know, because it's like he knows all this stuff about Phil Connors, and Phil Connors is like, I don't remember any of these things. And so that's an interesting thing to think. I ultimately think, though, that Andy McDowell is some type of guardian angel. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Am I still on here?
Well, yeah.
My signal was starting to drop. Okay, so my theory is that Andy McDowell's character is some kind of guardian angel, kind of like Clarence in A Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life with George Bailey. Because this whole thing starts when he meets her, and then they go to this town, and then it's like she, you know, knows that he's not a good person, and she puts this like spell on him or whatever, knowing that he's going to go through this series of events to get to a point to where he changes who he is. And the thing that makes me think this the most was that once he kisses her in that last day, it starts snowing, and he kind of looks like this is different. You know, he has that look like, what's going on here?
Right.
You know, it was a little thing where he's like, I don't remember this, but you know, whatever. And then everything changes. So it's like that broke the spell at that moment. It felt like. So when she finally decided, hey, he's completed the transformation that I wanted him to go through. I wanted him to become this good person, and he's finally reached that point where he's content, he's happy, and he's happy with her. And so I feel like because he even says, he's like, oh, when you stand in the snow, you look like an angel, and all these little things like that. So that was always my theory, was that she's some sort of angel that's trying to change him, kind of like real life. Whenever a girl sinks her hooks into you, and she's like, I'm going to change this guy. I'm going to make him the way I want him to be.
It never works out.
Like, I can't just be the regular asshole that I am. You got to change. I got to be, okay. I got to be a good guy.
It never works for them.
No, like I gotta say, like there's a woman in the last few months that I've kind of felt the same way about. And so watching this, I was just kind of like, fuck, man, like how much do I have to fucking do to get you? I don't fucking know. But I do have to point this out real quick, and this is totally off my bad relationship bullshit. But there is one person in this movie that I feel actually knows everything's going on. And we have not mentioned him at all. Hey, yeah, the fucking bartender. Because every time that Bill Murray goes up there, like he repeats the same shit about the drink and all that stuff, whatever, he looks back and then like when old dude comes up and he's trying to hit on her too, and he's just like, and it's like, he knows something. That guy, maybe he's the devil. Maybe he's God. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's God. He just let everybody else have their own free will.
It was interesting. Some other people had mentioned that too. And I feel like it's just one of the things. I think the reactions he's given is that he's seen, like, a lot of people just give shitty pickup lines and all this stuff. And it's like Murray's over there, talking about, oh, I toast to world peace, or I drink to world peace. and if you're a fucking bartender and you hear some fucking guy at the bar say that, you're like, what the fuck? So you're gonna react like that anyway. I think people are just looking into it too much. I think the bartender's just giving natural reactions, because he gives a reaction to Chris Elliott later on when he's trying to pick up the
that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like I think it's just I don't know. It's a fun thing to think about, because actually when you think about it, hear me out here. We're going to get philosophical on this shit real quick. So,
don't go too deep.
Not too deep, just a tip.
Just a tip.
Woo! But the thing is, in life, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, leads you on a path. Okay, this is actually what I've been, my mindset's been this year so far. That's why I've been in a great fucking mood, guys. I've been in a great fucking mood. After a couple of years of bullshit, life's actually doing all right. Sometimes the universe, or whatever you believe in, whatever is, it shows you the path to take. And we don't always take that path. Sometimes we veer off by temptation of some sort, whatever. And it's going to keep giving us that same thing. But when we don't take the path that we're shown, that's the one that this is the path you need to go on. That we have to overcome different obstacles and all that shit until we finally one day realize maybe this that's been in front of me this whole time is what we need to do. And I feel like in a way, this movie has that kind of like feeling to it. You keep doing the same thing over and over and over every day, the same thing. You know what you need to do. You know what path you need to take, but you decide to go and veer off because you think that's the better way to go about it. Bill Murray goes and he's an asshole, and he finally realizes all this shit after taking advantage of this whole thing or whatever, and the universe or whatever just keeps making him wake up every day till he actually gets the fucking hint. You know what I mean? Till he gets the fucking point. And then finally he does, and he goes down that fucking like that path which he's been shown over and over again, and he's ignored. And maybe that's something too. So, sometimes that's just how it goes. Universe. Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things where, we don't live in a time loop, but we essentially, we start over every single day. Every day is a new day, and every day is a new chance for change. So it's like when you look at it and you analyze it and you think about it, I could go on living this life and being selfish and doing all the things that I want to do, the terrible things, eating bad, smoking, sleeping around, whatever, crime, anything like that I could do. But is it going to be as satisfying or fulfilling as being a good person and finding love and finding happiness? And
Exactly.
I think that's the key takeaway from this film, And
Love beats the demon. Love beats the demon.
Which leads us into our next week topic.
But first, any more? We have to wrap anything up for Groundhog Day? Any last words?
Great flick. I think it's in the Library of Congress. Is recognized by all kinds of different religious groups and everything like that as being a very spiritual and existential type film that kind of transcends Hollywood and everything like that. So another Bill Murray classic, a great romantic comedy, and just a great film with a great message, I think.
I wouldn't call it a rom-com. It's got elements, but I would call it a rom-com. Elements.
It's listed in there though.
Yeah, listed or whatever. It's not. We know this. Come on. But yeah,
So that's gonna wrap it up. That's gonna wrap it up on the Groundhog's Day. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend. 30th anniversary is this week.
Yep, in like 3 days. And then
so if you haven't seen it, check it out.
And of course, tomorrow
is it 3.5 stars? Check it out.
Tomorrow is Groundhog's Day.
Tomorrow is Groundhog's Day. So, we'll see if Phil sees his shadow or not. We'll get 6 more weeks of winter.
I'm going to keep doing this episode over and over again.
That'd be funny.
Hey, everybody, it's Video Store Clerks.
My mother just come on here and be like, hey, we've done this. It's a curse.
All right.
We're going to show our clip of the week.
Yes.
And then we will talk about what we are doing next week.
That guy in a little coat.
You fucker.
That guy in a little coat.
Take it off, dickhead. I'm serious.
Richard, what's happening?
Oh, Dave, you found my funny bot. That shit cracks me up.
Dave and Chris, man, I tell you, those guys. Oh, Chris Farley, rest in peace, man.
Right.
One of the greats.
So next week we are getting a little sappy, and we are going to celebrate Valentine's Day, even though all of us are single. And yeah, but we are going to be looking
Wouldn't
at
be
the
if
life.
certain people would actually answer me back. But anyway,
We're going to celebrate Valentine's Day with the ones we love. You folks, the audience.
Yes.
who's going to probably be out
100%.
getting laid and doing everything else than not even watching. But that's cool.
Fuck.
You
We're gonna
runners out there,
follow-
you
We're going to
Just hope we
follow
love
one of the most romantic couples ever to cross the screen, Mickey and Mallory. Next week we'll be doing Natural Born Killers.
greatest,
so we hope-
greatest love story of all time.
It really is. We really hope you're ready for this one. If you have not seen it, watch it now before next week so you can join in the festivities of talking about this beautiful couple.
You should.
Love,
You should be.
love
here.
beats the demon.
So we
Love
will
you.
see you next Wednesday, 10 p.m. for Natural Born Killers. This is us saying peace out from the video store. Have a good night.